Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolebarger and welcome to this week's Middle East Update. It's the week of June 30th, and as you know by now, for the full report, make sure you go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com and access the PDF PowerPoint. Let's jump right into this week's headlines. Big surprise, President Donald Trump decided against hosting the annual Ramadan feast at the White House this year, effectively ending a two-decade tradition which began in 1996 with First Lady Hillary Clinton. The IDF targets Syrian artillery posts and ammunition trucks after errant shells land on the Golan Heights on Sunday. More to come about this. In Al-Quds Day, the message, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani, urged that the Muslims understand the need to wage war on Israel. I'm not making this stuff up. Those are the literal words. You probably know by now the chants at Al-Quds Day is death to America and death to Israel. Couple other things, quick note, Facebook has made the statement that it will not block Holocaust-denying content on its platforms in countries where it remains legal, saying, quote, it's merely an expression of an opinion. Keep in mind, Facebook does remove hate content, threats, and Nazi symbols, but nothing wrong with Holocaust denial. And finally, from the leader of the Free Syrian Army, Salim Hadafa, his quote, we want peace with Israel. Most people understand that the enemy is Iran, not Israel. Interesting. So in more detail, again, I'm just going to highlight what you'll find on that PDF. It seems like the major road bump for the so-called new peace plan with the Palestinians, at least what America is proposing, is that the Palestinians stop with the Martyrs Fund. Again, Trump's peace initiative, it's meeting obstacles because the Palestinians are now refusing to cease their practice of paying terrorists and inciting terrorists. You know, there's a moving through Congress at this point in time is something that's called the Taylor Force Act. Check that out. Currently, as I said, it's making its way through. Taylor Force is a West Point graduate, U.S. Army veteran who was stabbed, murdered in Tel Aviv, right next to Jaffa on the walkway there. And this Taylor Force Act that's making its way through Congress right now will end U.S. funding for the Palestinian Authority until it ends its payment of terrorists and their families. And so it's getting bipartisan majority support in both the House and Senate, and of course it's supported by the Israeli government. So stay tuned. This is not a good time for the Palestinians to be making this issue of the so-called Martyrs Fund. This week, a series of rocket attacks in the Golan Heights. You can read about that. Again, in the Golan, Israel has made it clear there's no oops factor. There's no spilling over an errant mortar landed in the Golan. Anything that lands in the Golan will be retaliated against. And so there was a couple incidents there. In fact, one of the incidents was when Bibi Netanyahu was in Katzrin, and a rocket struck about 10 miles away in the Golan. Now you'll see in the pictures, they actually had to close down Mount Ben Tal. Many of you who've been to Israel with us know the vision or the opportunity to look into Syria from the top of Ben Tal, but because of the mortar shellings that took place, they actually had to close that down. I understand now it's been reopened, but once again, something to look at. Not only were there rockets launched from Syria, but also in Gaza as well. And the Israeli Air Force on Monday struck 2 Hamas infrastructures in the north and the south of the Gaza Strip. Again, the IDF has made it clear that any rockets that are launched from Gaza into Israel, they will hold Hamas accountable, no matter who comes to the surface and launching them. In this particular situation, the launch was claimed by a Salafist group that's linked to the Islamic State. But once again, any strikes into Israel will be retaliated, and it will be against Hamas. There's a warning from the Major General Amir Eshel. Take a look at that, warning that the next Lebanese war, it will be no holds bar. He gives warning to civilians that are living in those areas because Hezbollah has infiltrated the border areas, and many of their launch sites are in civilian homes. And so this is kind of going out, making it known that any rockets that are launched from Hezbollah, any confrontation with Hezbollah, Israel will retaliate in full force. So you can take a look at that. Nikki Haley, our UN ambassador, has come out blasting the UN in a sense because they're not looking at Hezbollah or bringing any attention to what's taking place on the border. She goes on to say they need to see if there's tunnels, the rockets, all of this sort of thing. She says to have conflict break out between Lebanon and Israel, the destabilization that would do would be horrendous. And so we already heard last week the saber rattlings from Nasrallah or whatever. So once again, the focus is on the north for Israel and their threats. You can take a look at the bomb shelters. This is the defense establishment plans to renovate hundreds of public shelters in northern Israel, up to 40 or 25 miles from the Israeli-Lebanese border. We've done work in these bomb shelters, and you can take a look at some of our photos from that. It's a big step, and again, it just is because of the mounting threats that are going on. Also proposed is talk about a wall, the new wall that is being built that will go from Rosh Hanikra to Metula. And so once again, it's everything that's taking place in the north. There's an article on that. Again, the threat being Hezbollah. The White House has warned Syria on Monday that if he carries out any chemical attacks, that they would pay a heavy price. And so once again, warnings are being given. You'll see the different pictures of the chemical warfare that's taken place. Stay tuned for that, because the more desperate Assad is, the more likely he is to use chemical weapons. During Al-Quds Day, Iran started a countdown clock. It's begun a 25-year countdown to Israel's destruction, preferably coming at its own hands. Again, quotes, "Death to Israel, death to America." The reason for the 25 years is that the Ayatollah had vowed last year that there would be nothing left of Israel by the year 2040. And so, can you believe it? There's a countdown clock in Tehran that's 46,624 days until the destruction of Israel. And take the time to read this article called Israel's Demands. When we hear all about this so-called peace process, we know what the Palestinians want, but what are the Israelis demanding that will come to the table that will even create the opportunity for peace? Israel, by the way, will insist that all of the West Bank remains under Israel's overriding security responsibilities, and that the Palestinians will only maintain a police force for public order that will cooperate with Israel on the prevention of terror. Also, 2, Israel will demand the Palestinian leadership, here you go, will recognize Israel as the homeland of the Jewish people. And one last thing, regards to Jerusalem, Israel will demand that the Palestinian capital will be established outside of Jerusalem. What do you think the chances are that these demands will be met? This is what the U.S. is facing in attempting to become the negotiation partner between the Palestinian Authority and Israel. Quote of the week: I would rather have a strong Israel that the world hates than an Auschwitz that the world loves. And that was from Rabbi Meir Kahane. So once again, that's our report for this week. Check it out on the website. And we have some tours that are coming up, specifically one called Off the Beaten Path that's in November. This one is really for all of you that have been to Israel before and would like to go back and experience something that you have not yet experienced. So we're really looking forward to it. So check out our website for more information about that tour. So with that, let me wish you all a shalom, and remember, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and that Jewish eyes would be open to receive their Messiah. And let's also pray that Muslim eyes would be open to receive Yeshua as well. God bless you. And again, shalom.